What's going on, you guys? Hope you guys are doing very well today. Welcome to your stimulus package update. This is your third stimulus check update as well as fourth stimulus check and related news update. And Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren is inviting her billionaire critic to next week's hearing on Capitol Hill about raising taxes on the richest Americans. I feel like we're pulling a scene straight out of House of Cards. I don't know how many of you guys used to watch that series with Kevin Spacey. Awesome series if you haven't checked it out. Now, if you guys still haven't heard, Elizabeth Warren is actually proposing this Ultra Millionaire Tax Act to help be able to pay for President Biden's massive infrastructure plan, as well as to possibly fund recurring stimulus checks for struggling Americans. Effectively, this particular proposal would literally have the richest Americans funding recurring stimulus checks for struggling Americans. Really interesting concept here. I'm going to break down the details of that proposal later in this video, and comment down below if you feel like the richest Americans should offer a hand to the struggling Americans that have been affected by the pandemic. I'd love to hear from you guys. And now we have new developments on this initiative, so definitely stick around for that. And we're also going to talk about Kamala Harris's first address since becoming vice president, where she actually pitched the American Jobs Plan to the people of North Carolina. And finally, we have President Biden's proposal to extend the enhanced child tax credit as a part of his economic recovery package. I hope you guys are paying very close attention here because new things are being added to this stimulus package here. You see, we're really starting to move away from the American Rescue Plan and onto the next infrastructure and hopefully stimulus package. So if you want to stay up to date with all of the latest developments with stimulus packages, stimulus check updates, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. That way you're notified as soon as new updates come out. Just 1 month ago, 21 Senate Democrats, including Senator Elizabeth Warren, sent a letter to President Biden urging him to include recurring stimulus checks as well as enhanced unemployment benefits in his next major agenda. And the senators, led by Finance Committee Chair Ron Wyden, they argued that the aid must be tied to the country's economic conditions so that relief for American people does not lapse too early. And in the letter that they wrote, they said that the crisis is far from over and families deserve the certainty that they can put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads. Families should not be at the mercy of constantly shifting legislative timelines and ad hoc solutions. Now, as a way to pay for these monthly stimulus check payments, Elizabeth Warren, along with Representatives Pramila Jayapal, as well as Brenda Boyle, they have proposed a tax increase targeting the ultra wealthy after several reports came in saying that even during the pandemic, the richest Americans still saw gains. And apparently, as the virus wreaks havoc on the economy and disproportionately affects lower income Americans, the super rich have still seen their wealth expand. So because of this, the Ultra Millionaire Tax was born. So basically what this is it is a proposal that would put a 2% annual tax on households and trusts with net worths that are ranging anywhere between $50 million and $1 billion in assets. Now, aside from this, billionaires would also be taxed 3% on any amount above the $1 billion threshold. However, President Biden has not yet given his support for this. And, even as this proposal offers a possible funding source for this infrastructure and stimulus program, we still have not yet gotten the green light from President Biden on this one yet. In fact, reports from the time that this wealth tax was unveiled show that the president would much rather prefer raising corporate taxes than rely on Warren's pay for suggestion. But lawmakers in favor of the Ultra Millionaire Tax, they argue that it would level the playing field and narrow the racial wealth gap among Americans. And Elizabeth Warren said, and I quote, "This is a wealth tax that has been needed for a long time. We need it to produce more revenue to create more opportunity in America. But it is a wealth tax that we particularly need because of the changes in this country under the pandemic. We have watched the wealth of the billionaire class in America increase by more than $8 trillion over the last year." And she also tweeted, "Since the pandemic crisis started, billionaire wealth has shot up 40%, while millions remain unemployed and families struggle to keep a roof over their heads and food on the table. It's time for a hashtag wealth tax to make ultra millionaires and billionaires pay their fair share." And now, as the said group of lawmakers push forward with the wealth tax proposal, at the top of our list of pay-for plans for the upcoming $1 trillion stimulus package, Elizabeth Warren decided to invite former hedge fund manager and billionaire Leon Cooperman, one of the most vocal critics, to air his views on the proposal at Capitol Hill next week. And in her letter to Cooperman, Elizabeth Warren said that the hearing set for April 27th is, and I quote, "an opportunity to share your views on how to strengthen the nation's tax system to address economic inequality, raises revenues to fund critical pro-growth investments in families and communities, and bolster our long-term fiscal and economic outlooks. And she also emphasized, and I quote, "I request that you confirm your attendance at the hearing by Thursday, April 22nd. But apparently Cooperman was not interested. In a statement to CNBC Business yesterday evening, he said that Warren is trying to, and I quote, "grandstand at my expense and attempting to hold a hearing in a showboating atmosphere not conducive to serious debate." And he continued, "I am not interested in being pilloried by her while she uses me as a foil to promote her far-left manifesto," adding that he is respectfully declining the invitation. Anyway, Elizabeth Warren's letter is not the first written missive between the two. In fact, according to CBS News, Cooperman previously penned a 5-page screed to Elizabeth Warren back in October 2019 for her vilification of the rich and labeling her policy plans as misguided. So to me, it's really no surprise that this ultra millionaire tax would really cause these two to butt heads once again. But I would love to know your opinion on this one. Do you guys agree with this tax hike for the ultra wealthy, or do you think that the administration's stimulus and infrastructure plans should be paid for through some other method? Let me know your comments down below. I would love to hear from you. So moving on, Vice President Kamala Harris recently traveled to North Carolina to pitch President Biden's $2 trillion American Jobs Plan and tout the White House's accomplishments as she delivered her very first extended economic speech since she took office. And she told the audience at the state's Guilford Technical Community College, "Help is here and hope is here. And things are looking up. Schools are reopening. Businesses are reopening. Grandparents are seeing their grandchildren in person. We are delivering real relief." And she also called the plan a once-in-a-lifetime, once-in-a-generation investment in America's infrastructure and America's future, saying, and I quote, "It is what the American people deserve." Now, we all know that Vice President Harris has become increasingly involved in promoting President Biden's two-part Build Back Better plan. Now, I want you guys to pay very close attention to this here, right? The Vice President is going out and promoting a particular plan to the American people, meaning, why would they do that unless the approval of the American people was actually needed? And so this goes to the point that I always make to you guys on how important your voice is, and that you should always let your voice be heard to the politicians. Politicians would not waste their money, they would not waste their time promoting different agendas to the American people if the opinions of the American people didn't matter. And as a matter of fact, Kamala Harris, she's been attending meetings with the Congressional Black Caucus as well as members of Congress from both parties to discuss this infrastructure agenda and to hear out suggestions from her own colleagues. But now, reports are saying that after her speech in North Carolina, Vice President Kamala Harris will, and I quote, "continue traveling the country to promote the plan in the weeks to come." So I guess we'll hear from her again over the next few weeks, but on her first major policy remarks, she seemingly left us with something to hold on to. A good job allows the American people the freedom to build the life you want, to reach as high as you want to aspire. That's what a good job does. And good jobs are what the president and I will create with the American Jobs Plan. So that's basically what her speech was about, kind of a new promise to the American people. However, of course, we'll just have to see, if they're actually going to ultimately deliver on this. But as the vice president goes on with her mission to tout the American Jobs Plan, President Biden, on the other hand, is now starting to hint at his next massive recovery plan called the American Families Plan, which is expected to be unveiled any day before next Wednesday. So at the most, we would only have to wait for a week to know all about the details about this next stimulus spending plan. Big question here. Will this include a fourth stimulus check? Is it going to include recurring monthly stimulus check or recurring monthly stimulus payments? Would it double down on Obamacare, or would it expand Medicare? Those are just some of the most commonly asked questions about President Biden's next economic agenda. But even before the second part of the Build Back Better plan is unveiled, we're now already getting a glimpse of what could or could not be included in the final draft. In fact, in a video yesterday, I already shared with you some possible numbers for the provisions expected to be included in this next measure. So you might want to check that one out. But aside from all the details that I've already given you in this video, we're already getting reports saying that President Biden is now to back the proposed temporary extension of the larger child tax credits, despite his fellow Democrats' push to make it permanent. And according to reports, this is because the president is hesitant about a permanent implementation of the tax credit due to potential pushback in the Senate. Now, I personally see where he's coming from on this one. After all, he knows that a lot of the items on his infrastructure plan, including the possible fourth stimulus check provision, as well as other social infrastructure policies, are already drawing strong criticisms from the Republicans or the GOP. And of course, more progressive priorities in the stimulus package would mean stronger Republican opposition. But still, President Biden said that he's open to extending the current tax credit, which is set to expire at the end of 2021, just not in a permanent sense. But the big question is, how long will this actually be extended for? Well, according to the Washington Post, the American Families Plan could include a provision to extend the expanded child tax credit to 2025. So I guess that's what we could possibly expect for now. But as I told you guys in my previous video yesterday, none of these details were actually set in stone yet. These are just kind of preliminary ideas that are being thrown out by our politicians. We're still just going to have to wait for President Biden's announcement and confirmation on this one. But if you want to be among the first to get those updates on all of the stimulus package provisions, stimulus checks, extensions of unemployment insurance benefits, $15,000 home buyer credit, $200 SSI boost, whatever it may be sure to subscribe to the channel and tap that notification bell so that you receive all of the latest updates. But anyway, guys, that's all that I have for you guys on this particular stimulus check update and stimulus package update. If you made it up to this point, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for sticking around and for trusting me to give you guys the latest stimulus news. And I hope to see you guys on the next one. Take care.